SMT Nation, we back. Nation, today I want to talk about a topic here in regards to T-Mobile, and it's churn rate, right? T-Mobile's churn rate spiked a little bit last quarter, Q3 2023. And we don't have, like very specific reasons as to why. Sometimes the leaders, the executives over at the companies give us a little bit of color and description on what exactly is going on, but we don't know the exact details. I have my own reasons as to why I think they possibly had this little, spike in churn. Why are customers possibly leaving T-Mobile more than usual, more than the typical? After all, churn rate being a retention rate, you want to see that as low as possible, right? You don't want to see customers churning and leaving. So when you pay to acquire a customer, whether it's through phone promotions or switcher deals or whatever, all the advertising that goes into it, you want to get them and keep them, right? And that's been Verizon's focus, and that's been AT&T's focus, keeping the churn low, trying to get the churn down so you get a customer profitable long term and you keep them, for a duration of time. So anyways, speaking at the UBS conference, CEO of T-Mobile, Mike Sievert, spoke to it. I'll be sure to provide a link to the article for you guys. It'll be in the description. Ways to support the SMT can be found there as well. All right, so in Q3 2023, T-Mobile's postpaid phone churn came in at 0.87%. That's the lowest churn rate for the company ever in the history of a third Q. Now, the thing about that churn is that churn was higher than the previous quarter. So I don't know if you necessarily want to look at it as a bad churn rate. It came in, I think, number 2 in the industry behind AT&T. I think Verizon came in, I don't know if it was like 0.89 or 0.90, so they were just behind T-Mobile. But with respect to the churn rate, what was the spike? I was expecting it to be a little lower. So albeit the best Q3 ever for T-Mobile in churn, it was elevated compared to the previous quarter. So again, I don't know how you look at it, if it's bad or if it's good. It's really up to you how you look at it. But what I think is happening, and what T-Mobile's really going to have to try to avoid, is you want to keep customers from leaving. Or as their CEO said, you want them to leave less, right? They want to keep you long-term, in his words, customers for life, right? And when you win customers for life, you keep them paying their bills every month. It's consistent revenue, and it allows you to possibly even deepen the relationship with that customer, getting them to take additional services in the future. All right, so what am I predicting for Q4? I think their churn rate's going to be a little lower. I think it's going to be like mid 8s, high low on the 8s, so like 0.84, 0.83. I think they'll return to that low 8s. I still think AT&T is going to be the best churn just because of the aggressive promotional activity and new and existing customers getting the best phone deals. And I think Verizon's going to drop theirs a little bit. I think they'll be like very similar to T-Mobile. So I think there's a version of this where Verizon's like 0.84 and T-Mobile's like 0.83 or 0.82. And I think T-Mobile saw, that slight spike in a way and was like, all right, we don't like the way this is going. Let's address it. And, the way they do that is with promotional activity. It really does seem to help. But I will tell you guys, they have been pretty active. So they may be addressing it. Now, the one last thing I want to discuss in churn, and it's the one concern I have T-Mobile when it comes to churn rate, is network performance, right? We have heard them talk about, capital light approach to building the network. They're reducing CapEx, and within the urban core, you just can't do that. So if they're going to reduce CapEx and the network starts to fade or degrade or whatever, I saw his statement. Mike Sievert said that they build the network to be able to support every customer using 80 gigs of data per month. And that might be true, but that's on average across the country. And there are markets where T-Mobile has over 50% market share, and they have no substantial small cell or C-RAN build or cell split model utilizing mmWave capacity, right? And 10 gig fiber circuits continue to be something they're going to have to scale and invest in. So my concern is if the network fades, the churn rate continues to kind of spike a little bit and worsens over time if you're going capital light. So they are going to have to reinvest in the network in some key places We'll see if they do it in 2024. Otherwise, I would expect a small churn bubble next year if they don't tend to those things. Now, they have some help on the way. They have secured 5G radios from Ericsson. According to the CEO, Mike Sievert, he said that they have a 2-in-1 solution for the DoD and the C-band spectrum that T-Mobile has yet to deploy. They'll start that next year, and I think that will be huge to help with those problems. They're going to put an additional, 40 to 60 megahertz in some of those places. That's a lot of bandwidth to support, and I still think a C-RAN, build is required. I still think millimeter wave is crucial in places where you see Verizon continues to work, right? And T-Mobile struggles. Those places have to get millimeter wave. These are networking tools and strategies that are non-negotiable. Otherwise, I think with the direction things are going, especially when you look at people spending more time out now, it's not the pandemic anymore, right? It's all about experiences, concerts, and all these bigger venues where a lot of folks congregate. They're going to just have to bite the bullet. So that is where I think the risk is. The network performance. If it degrades and fades in certain places, those customers could churn. And historically in those places, Verizon has been the answer for folks. And if you look at pricing across the country now, you look at the pricing from Verizon and T-Mobile and AT&T, they are very close to one another. And I will tell you that the value at Verizon with all these new bundling options with the streaming services makes them more attractive too. Right now they're offering up to a 40% discount if you get those services. And a customer may be paying for those at T-Mobile and they may switch. So the $5 or $10 they were saving on a couple of lines, they may be looking to save that on their streaming services and go with a carrier who works at all these venues and has a better performing network under those circumstances. It's very possible. And, we still know that T-Mobile has work to do on its reliability piece. It has improved and it will need to continue to do so. But comment down below what you guys think is going to be the outcome for the churn rate for T-Mobile. If you think it's going to improve or get worse, do you think it's a bubble, or do you think it's something that's going to be long-term? And how do you think they should address it? What say you? Sound off in the comment section below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.